Dear friends, I hope you all are well and keeping safe. My name is Shantanu Barua, and today I'm going to talk about the books I have read in the year 2023. Total of 33 books in 7 different genres. What I'm going to do now is take one genre at a time, take you through all the books I have read, provide a quick perspective, and give a shout out if I liked a book. As always, I love to hear back from you. So if you have a comment or a feedback, please feel free to leave behind in the comment box. You can also reach out to me directly. So let's begin. The first category I'm going to talk about is nonfiction, and the first book in that category, The Blind Side. It has two stories going side by side, one about Michael O'Hare, who is the main character of the book. His evolution from a very disturbed background to becoming an NFL player is a great read and give you a lot of inspiration. The second part of the story is the evolution of offensive left tackle, which has become a big deal in NFL now. So this book talks about how it all started. Great read, highly recommend. There's a movie as well. If you do not like reading, you can watch the movie. The next book I'm going to talk about is Killing the Mob. Highly, highly recommend this. This book is all about the start of organized crime in the United States, the rise and fall of it. Starts from early 19th century when bank robbery was key, and then moving on to mafia and other kind of crimes. Next book, Boys in the Boat. Story is about 9 ordinary boys coming from Pacific Northwest during the Great Depression time. And they were all part of University of Washington, part of the rowing team. And miraculously, against all odds, they won the gold medal in Berlin Olympics, a row competition. Great read, highly recommend. Next book, if you want to read, you need A Heart of Steel. Miracle in the Andes is a story about survivors from a plane crash. So in the year 1972, 45 people flew from Uruguay, most of them teenagers who are going to play a friendly match, soccer match in Chile. And they all crashed in the Andes mountain. Out of the 45 people in the plane, only 16 survived, and they were having a difficult time. It was winter time. They didn't have right clothing. They didn't have food and water. And despite all the odds, they survived 72 days. And that's not all. In this book, this surviving doesn't happen because someone came, saw them, and rescued them. They have to find their own way out for survival. And that's the classic story of this book. Highly recommended. Next book is Taking Berlin. During the last few months of World War II, that was a tumultuous period of time. The Allied forces, Soviet Union were all racing to occupy Berlin. Why? Because Berlin was the capital of Nazi Germany. So if you're intrigued by World War II, again, highly recommended book for you. 537 Days of Winter, written by David Knopf, is a book about resiliency and about fighting against conditions which are beyond your control. David is a station leader. He was posted by Australia to the Australian Davis Research Center in Antarctica. Usually, when he goes, he stays there for 4 to 6 months, comes back. But this time, when he went, he stayed there for 537 days. Why? Because when he went, there was no COVID. And as he was staying there during his stay, COVID happened. And Australia didn't want to bring them back to shore. And they stayed in uncertainty in a period where they were mentally and physically both disturbed. So great read from that perspective. And if you want to learn about mental strength, this is a book to read. Okay, this is one of my favorite, Caste. Not an easy read though, written by Isabel Wilkerson. And this book is about the caste system and the social hierarchy in the United States. And she argues that that kind of resonates and resembles to the Indian caste system as well as in Nazi Germany. An intriguing read, and I highly recommend it. Last Queen is a story about Jind Kaur, the last known queen of Sikh Empire. During that period of time, British were ruling India, or at least they were occupying kingdom after kingdom. Story is about her, how she brought her people together, and against everything that was there, she stood behind her son and making sure that he can get what he deserves. Again, a story about one woman who stood against all of the great forces of time. Again, a great read. If you also want to learn about Indian history, this is a book to pick. Okay, House of Gucci. There's a movie again on this book. Lady Gaga, if I'm not wrong, is the actress. This book is about everything: greed, it's about glamour, it's about deceit, it's about murder. Story revolves around many such factors about the Gucci family, the fashion dynasty, and how the entire thing came together. What was most intriguing to me in this book is that at the end of the book, I realized that the Gucci as a company today, they didn't have any of their family member as a part of the board, and none of them own any share in Gucci. So that's a book for you. I always love reading the book more than watching a movie. So if you're a book reader like me, I'll recommend this book to you. The Swerve. What a book this is. This is about a 15th century papal. I think his name was Poggio Bracciolione. He found a piece of work from Nature of Work written by Lucretius, a old age Roman poet, and it was in a very derelict condition in some German monastery. And he saved that particular piece of work, which has quite a big of impact on the modern age. It defines how the modern age was evolved or created. Great read. The book also had the script of the poem. So go ahead, and if you love history and history around Roman culture, recommend it to you. Okay, the last few books, Wind, Sands, and Star. It's a lyrical memoir, talks about the early days of airline aviation, the commercialization of that same. Read it if you are interested in aviation, and it'll give you some great perspective around it. Peggy Mohan's book, Wanderers, Kings, and Merchant. It's about the Indian subcontinent and also about Jamaica and people who have gone from India in different regions. The book is about language and origination of language and extinction of language. First, the book talks about the origin of Sanskrit language. If you know about Indian languages, not all, but most of the Indian languages have base from Sanskrit and how Sanskrit was evolved. And then it goes into the the inflection of Urdu in India and how Urdu came into play when Mughals came. They brought in Urdu, and then it goes into the infusion of English language and Hindi literature. It also talks about some of the Northeast languages which didn't have a direct correlation to some of the Devanagari script. Talks about how they all evolved. The book again also gives a thread that the way the English fusion is happening in Indian language, the Hindi language today is a combination of English and Hindi, and it is more in India known as English, and how the infusion of English words are making Indian language to kind of diminish. So that's a book about languages, their origins, and it's a great read again. The last book in this category is Black Hawk Down. It's about modern war. It's about war, how it is fought in the modern days. Stories in Somalia, sorry, where uh, the U.S. Army is trying to capture a warlord, and how everything goes wrong, and how all of their plan goes astray, and how they survive beyond those and come to semblance. So, book is about that. There's a movie also made on that book. That's the end of my first category. I'll move on to the next category, which is business read. Two books in that category. The first being Thank You for Being Late, written by Thomas Friedman. I must tell you that I didn't enjoy reading this book that much, but there are a few things which were very intriguing. And one of that is what Thomas called them as age of acceleration. Book is all about how the fiduciary duty in today's world is all about money and about capital investment, and because of that, how countries are racing against time to acquire more wealth, and because of that, we are depleting our natural resources. And it goes through all of those 17 chapters of UN, which talks about water resource, carbon footprint, and deforestation, and so on and so forth. And because of that, what is happening to the world? And as the facts are relayed back to you in terms of what is happening, it'll be a very scary situation as you read through that. But again, the book ends in a positive note by saying that all is not lost. If we can get our act together, probably we can get this world back into the shape that we want to be. And the next book I read was the HBR on high performance, the 10 must read. And this book is on high performance. It's about 10 different best articles chosen by HBR about high performance and high performance team. That's my second category done. My third is about self-learning, philosophy, and motivational book. And the first book in that category is The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. What a book this is. This book has 48 chapters, each chapter dedicated to one principle of power. And this book is all about how you can occupy power and how you can retain power. And as it explains the power, it also goes in the history and talks about how in the past there are examples which shows either in historical figures or in philosophical artifacts that law was applied and what has happened, if it was followed or not followed. Again, I'll highly recommend it. Robert Greene is all his books are great. Mastery is another book I have read, but again, highly recommend. Wonderful read. As you read the book, you'll find that some of the laws are conflicting. It's not that you need to own all the 48 laws. See in your situation what applies and what you can imbibe within you if you want to be a power hogger and you want to display power and can have power in the society. Deep Work, recommended by my son, Carl Newport, book Deep Work. I think one of the finest read I did last year and highly recommended. This book is about finding finding your own time in this distracted world. See the world today. We have phone, we have reels, we have whatnot. Our attention span has gone down because we have so many distractions. And what Carl Newport, in essence, talks about is that if you can focus on one work at a time and you can free your mind from other things, like, for example, deleting social media, moving away from social media, you can get a lot more done in short period of time. If you are if you are in the process of improving yourself or you want to learn that how you can focus more, Deep Work is a book for you. This book is written back in 1937, by Dale Carnegie. Sorry, book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. There are, I think, 32 chapters in this book. Talks about 30 different rules that you can apply so that your interpersonal skills can improve. Written back in 1936, still valid. Love the book. It has the best part is it doesn't simply gives you a rule, it gives you examples of what you can do. And what surprised me is that while it is written so many years back, almost now, about 90 years back, yet each and every word, each and every chapter is so very relevant. Because human emotions and human nature, the milieu we live in, the camaraderie we create cannot change. Technology may bring a lot of different facts and different ways and means to us, but the human way of thinking, human way of connecting doesn't change. With that, I move on to the next book. I didn't enjoy this book that much. It's about 12 rules for life. It's about 12 philosophies that you can imbibe in your life for having a fulfilling life. I found a repeat of a lot of those concepts I have read in otherwise. Didn't enjoy that much. Maybe you will, but it's a highly recommended book if you go to Good Book Reads or to Amazon. Next one, Extreme Ownership. A great book. I think this book is written from the lenses of two different facts, in my opinion. Number one, that you need to own all your action as a leader, right? Good and bad, and otherwise you cannot give excuse to yourself. Second is when you own it, give your very best to it and go and execute on it. Written by SEALs, Navy SEALs, who were deployed in Iraq, and all of the lessons learned during that particular period of time has been inculcated and put together in this book. Love this book for that reason because they are practical lessons from Navy SEALs, which we can apply in business world as well. So that kind of brings the end to my third genre, and the fourth one is biographies or autobiography. This is Damn Lucky. Damn Lucky. Sorry, this is a biography because the author is someone else, not the same person. So it's a biography. Damn Lucky is about, again, World War II. The main character in this book, for whom the book is written, his name is Lacado, John Lacado, and he was part of the aircraft troop, and he used to fly B-17 during those time. Before you can go back to states after the war, is you have to fly certain missions, and the number is 25. He was flying B-17, a slower aircraft, bombing aircraft, and they were the great targets to Germans. So no, usually people don't survive those, right? If you have 25 sorties to make, the fact remains that you'll be killed one day or the other. You cannot be that lucky to survive 25. But interestingly and surprisingly, he and his entire crew survived 25 sorties. The book is about that. It's a it's a funny read from a perspective, all this World War II. It's a rhetoric read as well at times, but it's also tells the stark reality of war beyond the funny part of it. Yeah, I'll move on to the next category. This is now the autobiography category. I Am Malala, written by Malala. This is a story about a girl who stood for education against everyone in her country, and despite several warnings from Taliban, she didn't listen and she was shot. A story about her and how she has fought against all odds to make sure that education is given a priority to everyone. Great read again. Okay, then I move on to the next category, the sixth one, which is a historical fiction category. This book was gifted to me by a friend of mine, The House of Fortune. Story is about a girl known as Thea, 16, 17-year-old girl who is fighting many things, who is fighting financial duress, which her family is, by the way, not showing. She is also in love. This is about betray and love, and also about survival and growing out. So great story, and also about mystery and how the family comes together. And one thing that I've learned reading this book is family is family. At the end of the day, the family stands behind you, regardless of anything that you feel or say. The story is set during 16th century, so it gives that touch of that particular period of time, and author has done a great job describing that particular period of time in her words and otherwise. Okay. That brings me to the last category, the fiction category, the many books I have read. Again, I'll not go through what the books are about, but this book, which is Rounding the Mark, is actually written by Italian person, translated in English, and I bought this book during my vacation in Australia by Italian person, and I really appreciated that book when I went to vacation to Italy last year in 2023 December. Book is written. It's a crime mystery written in the area of Sicily, southern Italy, and great read. I love the book and how the story unfolded. Snakes and Ladder from Geeta Mehta is another book I read. Then I read The Defector from Daniel De Silva. Great read again. Then Arkin Narayan, as if you have seen my book read before, you would know that I'm a big fan of him. Two books again, Arkin Narayan, The Vendor of Sweets, and Arkin and The Painter of Signs, that I've read. Picked up one book from Delhi airport. I thought I will just read this new author. Never heard of him, so I just randomly picked. What I was disappointed. Not a great read. The Creation Conundrum looks like a poorly written book, according to me. So didn't enjoy that much. Then I also read John Grisham's Time to Kill. And then again, one more book from my favorite author, Arkin Narayan, The World of Nagaraj. I have two more books. The second last one is a record. This is a story set on, a crime thriller again of someone who's destroying rail lines, which was a big deal in the early part of 19th century, and how the train lines were destroyed, and there was train, and the owner of that train empire, and how he was upset and how he's trying to figure out why that person is doing that. And the last book I read was The Da Vinci Code. I don't have that book. I have lended it to someone. I don't have it with me to show you here, but that's the last book I read. I hope you liked my roundup, and I look forward to reading your views, and also let me know what books you're reading. So if there's something interesting in your library or in your list of books, please do recommend so I can read that too. Thank you once again for listening. Take care now. Bye.